Hello.
How's it going?
Going pretty good.
Uh, you were...
Attackers
yeah,
incoming
okay.
in 30 seconds.
Playing Creed.
Yep, so this was last night after probably like 7 or 8 games or so.
Okay.
It was a pretty successful night. I've just been climbing the past like couple weeks because I just joined a team and wanted to get out of bronze.
Rad. Okay. Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Looks like you're pretty close. Was
Defend
it
objective
1428? Yeah. A few more
Yep.
games.
Yeah. I think we only lost 2 games last night.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna watch like this first fight and then I'll start like
Yeah.
talking about things. Okay. So we're gonna back up. Two things that I'm noticing so far. So you actually, you're playing this way better than I was expecting, to be honest. Like for 1400, this does not look 1400.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that the win streak is going to continue at least for a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have the right idea a lot of the time, but a lot of these things that you're doing, you can be accomplishing much safer, which means when you get up against better opponents, they won't just kill you while you're trying to do them. So, I'm not going to rewind, I don't think. I'll just like run through this real quick. You started off holding this angle here, and holding angles is something Kree is really good at. However, this angle was kind of dangerous when they pushed you, as you saw. Like, I'm surprised you got out of here alive. A better team, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah. So, if you play further back here, it's a narrower angle. Better yet, if you play like on this high ground or like this high ground, then you can like spam angles like that. They're not quite as like this was a very juicy angle, but
yeah,
high risk, high reward. This is a sometimes food. Sometimes you can go for these plays, but you got to be real careful about them. And then otherwise, once you got out here, like you're doing so much damage and you're killing things, and that's great. But you're spending a lot of time in open space. Versus like hugging these corners as tightly as you can and like playing from corner to corner. It's just how you keep from getting surprised by something. Like
like the Ana.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody you didn't see surprises you, gets a shot on you. It doesn't matter because you're already at cover. You just like take a little step and now you're safe, right? People usually die when they get surprised in open space. It's the thing you didn't see that you couldn't get away from. Anyway, the other part, it hasn't really come up yet, so I don't actually know if it's missing, but I'm just going to say, in the team that you are running, you and your diva both, it is your job to protect your Ana. Like, you two are Ana's bodyguards, and one of you can go off and take angles, but both of you doing it, like, you need to be real careful that at least one of you can still get to your Ana. So, this is like 102 level, like, work on the other stuff first, but the thing you're building towards, with your positioning is to be able, maybe not right now because, like, this guy's right here, but imagine this isn't happening. If you're on an angle like this and your Ana, for whatever reason, is playing low ground there, this is great because it's an angle and you're still protecting your Ana. So you want to look for ways you can multitask like that. Protect the people that you can protect as Kree while still getting value with your spam and damage. If they never dive your Ana, like, they're not really running a dive comp. They have D.Va, but like if they're leaving your Ana alone, then you can adjust your playstyle and go more aggressive. But it is one of your core responsibilities, so you should at least start out protecting her until you've seen that you don't need to.
Okay.
Really any kind of backup. Even if you have like an Ashe or a Widow, sometimes it's good for you to protect them if they're getting dove. You're just very good anti-dive because you flash fan anyone that comes in.
Yeah.
Nice, I like it. Playing up here is also just really good because it seems aggro as hell. And it kind of is, but you can just drop off the back and be safe so quickly. So long as they don't have someone that can one-shot you, it's pretty okay. You just gotta be fast and careful. Yeah, this is one of those like kind of minor things, but like there were like a few brief windows in here that you could have thrown a couple extra shots into the shield. I realize it's like next to nothing, but that stuff adds up, and McCree is a really good spam hero. So just even if it's a single shot into a shield very briefly, just do it. Every chance you get, throw the damage at them. If you're in, I get that you're in bronze, so they probably aren't, but like as you climb, as your entire team is doing that stuff, it adds up. And then when you get like the bad Reinhardts who hold their shield to all the spam, you just break their shield before they ever walk in, and you can win the frontline fight for your tanks just by breaking shields like that. It's not like high on your to-do list, but there are lots of little opportunities that you can be taking. This is great. Oh, that's why you don't play in open space, because then the McCree surprise high noons you, it's massive. Yeah. Look to take those high ground positions more.
The back right one I usually take every single time when I'm playing something that has more range, like Ashe and Widow.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Especially, yeah, it is your fall off on McCree. It's kind of hard when you're playing back here. Trying to remember. I think there is tech where you can like roll from on top of this onto here to get to this high ground. This is just massive. This is a really good thing to hold if you can get up here. But like that's a setup thing. You can't get there in the middle of a fight, obviously.
Yeah.
So here's where ranked gets tricky, because ranked is a shit show. Until maybe high plat, low diamond, and sometimes not even then, like, people play here in this choke, but this is a terrible place to play. It really is. If you look aerial footage, this point, like most points in the game actually, is kind of a death trap. It is a low ground completely surrounded by high grounds.
Yeah.
So your goal, in an ideal world, a lot of the time, is to do damage to them as they're walking through this choke, because it's like really hard to walk through without taking damage. And you just want to wear as much of their resources out as you can while you keep kiting back and controlling these high grounds, because then when they touch the point, they just die. Like, their shields are low, their mobility cooldowns are off, whatever, and they're caught out in open space. The only way they can touch this point is to be in open space.
Yeah.
So if you guys are controlling the high grounds, they just die. And McCree is really good at holding high grounds. I would say starting off here is probably good. It's a little bit closer, so your damage is a little bit more meaningful. And it's also kind of good for ranked, I have found, because people always hold this side of the choke. So you being here is actually holding kind of a nice off angle. Anyone who starts pushing through this way, you're putting damage into. So yeah. I have talked a ton. Let's see how this goes. glad you do the right clicks into the barriers, because it's 300 damage and impossible to miss, so like... Okay. That was great thing, bad thing, great thing. Like, in rapid succession, so let's... Okay. You see the low antied Rhine, you hit the flash. That was the first good thing. The first bad thing was you then rolled away from the 1 HP antied Rhine that you just flashed so he can't shield you. You put one more shot into him and he's dead, and then you can roll away if you gotta. And then the good thing was you came back in and you killed him while he tried to shatter, and you canceled his shatter. Which... nice.
I think in game, I did not notice that he was low. I think the poking like that was to try and save our diva.
Gotcha. Okay. That might be just like working on awareness then. It's... You shouldn't chase kills, like, you shouldn't be looking to chase kills. McCree doesn't have enough mobility. But if you see something free like that, and you have your roll to get away, oh yeah, take it.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Oh, unfortunate. Got caught out by the bomb. That was actually a really good bomb. There were a few places you could have run in time, but they were all bad for you anyway. So, like... Good bomb that you had. I don't know if they knew how good it was going to be, but it was. Oh, yeah. This is so good. This platform and this platform are so good for you to hold. And they're kind of different choices for different reasons. This gives you this sight line to just put damage into people going onto the high ground, and you can kind of use this thing here as like a bit of a corner to block people low ground, and like you also just straight up have this corner here. So like you can peek out pretty far, pretty safely, but it is very exposed. Every time you peek, they can kind of shoot you. Option 2, where you are now, is super strong because you are super safe. The only way they can get an angle on you is the hard ent. And, so now, like this one, you have good sightlines on the low ground. You can kind of over peek to here, but it's a little hard. But what's really great about both of these is either one of them, if they push onto the point, you're now behind them for free. Like, if they touch this point, you have an angle to shoot them. And creating, like, untenable situations like that for the enemy team is really strong. If you can do it safely, like you can right here. That might be a little bit, like... I don't know, that was, like, one of the more confusing concepts for me to get. So, like, don't worry about that one just yet. There's more important things, but... Noon, I like it. I'm going to assume the right click was a misclick, but...
I kind of just shoot when I don't need to. Like, I like shooting the little things on the map that get destroyed.
Okay, fair enough. I will say, if you're trying to hide for this, then you don't want them to know you're here. But... yeah. Look how great this angle is. And you're playing the corner. You actually do play good corners most of the time. It just needs to be, like, all of the time. Yes! Yes! So, that's one of those, like, big risk plays. But it's not quite as big risk as you'd think. Well, depending on how you do it. going face first into them like that was a little bit risky, but they didn't notice you until you were behind them. I feel like this one's a little bit stronger if you do it coming around this side as they're trying to fight on the point, because once people are fighting, like, their attention's split, it's hard to track where everything is, so it's easier to surprise people with plays like that. The reason this platform, though, is kind of strong is because you're moving, and, like, you're high noon, you die through high noon all the goddamn time because you're damn near standing still.
Yeah.
This is, like, very easy to predict movement. It's not very hard to hit for, like, a skilled player, but it's harder than standing still and doing it. So, like, hell yeah, take those opportunities. You don't have a Lucio on your team. If you do, you should ask them to amp speed for you when you high noon. Because that's even better, because you have control over your movement, and speed amp, I think 1-to-1 cancels out the slowdown from Creolt, so you're just moving at normal speed while Creolting, which is actually kind of strong. But yeah, good idea. I would just, like, wait on the timing, do it a little bit later.
So use it more defensively than offensively?
Not even that. You want to use it when they are least able to deal with it. So, right then they have, like, they're all together. They have all their resources. They can see you coming. Like, a lot of them were able to hide from it. You actually only got the Junkrat. And it was very surprising that they didn't kill you, and it looks like you're about to die now. But if you did this exact same play, exactly how you did it, after your team had pushed in and they were fighting in this choke, for example, then it would be huge, because then they have a choice. Look at the Kree, or, like, look at the D.Va shooting them in the face, and the Junkrat throwing nades at them, and, like, all the damage. It makes it really hard for them to deal with, because their attention is split. You as Kree have huge playmaking potential, because, like, your hit scan, you do reasonable damage, and you can flash fan any squishy in the game. But timing is key, and you will find way more success making those plays even right after a fight starts, like right at the beginning of a fight, rather than just before a fight. But they can be offensive. You can think of them as offensive rather than defensive, because you're still, like, trying to get kills. You're just... It's going to be way more surprising and way harder for them to hide from. And, like, Creole, one thing you can think about, because you can just, like, deny space from people, you can force the enemy team into bad places by just high nooning the good place. Like, if they push into this good space, they die to your high noon, so now they have to go over here, and hey, your team's over there ready to kill them.
Okay, so zoning them with the ult.
Yeah, is... and you should think about its zoning potential whether or not you're going for kills, because it's value you'll get whether or not you succeed at the kills. And ideally, you do both. Nice. That was a bad tire from the Junkrat, but good job breaking it. So you don't have a Mercy. And who do they have? They don't really have anyone that can contest you, though, other than the Ana.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't be afraid of a bronze Ana, but, like, if we are... I like to play assuming that the enemy team is better than they are, because I would like to climb and get better and play against better opponents, so I have to just act like they already are. So, Ana can 3-tap you. You cannot be so far away from cover that 3 shots can go off, which happens in about 2 seconds. So if you are ever 2 seconds from cover, you can die. You also want to keep your distance from D.Va, because D.Va can burst you down. But so long as you keep those two in mind, like, they don't really have anything that can fuck with you, so Pharah is a very strong choice, even without a Mercy. Good job! You didn't quite make it around the corner, but you did live, and I'm really glad you know about the, like, using concussive blast for mobility like that. Nice. So, I'm going to call all of that a net good, and you should always do it, but I also want to point out the bad of it. Because it's like, mixed situation. Because you, as Pharah, don't want to be in tiny places like this. You want to shoot enemies in tiny places, but you yourself don't want to be in them. And, like, you are close enough that the Reaper can actually do meaningful damage to you, and maybe even kill you. That said, he was diving your goddamn supports, and if he kills them, you lose this fight. And I don't give a fuck what DPS you're playing, peel for your supports. There are other DPS that are better at it, such as McCree, but, like, if you see that your supports are about to die, fuck yes, go save them, even if it's at risk to yourself. Like, sometimes you just gotta. And so that was really well done.
Thank you.
Alright. Honestly, that barrage was not bad. I mean, so it's OT, so, like, use it or lose it is part of it. But also, like, it was in the middle of the fight, so, like, attention was split, which is why you got a kill on it, you did some meaningful damage, and you lived through it, which is extra surprising. Where are you? Yeah. I would do, though. So right here, this is, like, kind of a slight change, I know, but you 180 conch blast, and you cancel your conch blast with your ult, like, right here. You move super fast when you conch blast, and then you lock position instantly as soon as you hit Q, even if, like, your momentum would have carried you. It's really surprising and hard to hit. So you just suddenly flick over here and hit it, and then you kill these two before they can react and get to you. And, like, this Ana, good Anas know your, will, like, see your momentum and flick to where you're gonna land. But if you cancel it early with your barrage, she flicks the sleep and misses it. So look to do that. Like, just either drop behind them out of nowhere, or conch blast to a new angle and cancel it with your barrage, just so you move very suddenly and surprisingly. But yeah, oh yeah, you got the mech on the D.Va too. Great barrage. I imagine that late in the fight, the Ana didn't even have her sleep anyway, which is another reason to, like, do these things a little bit later.
Score.
Yeah, I'll be real, this is already looking gold.
Ready for battle.
And your aim and your brain are good enough for plat already. Just get your positioning right.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I've been doing. So I've been watching a lot of pro plays for, like, the DPS that I play, and
nice. Yeah,
take note of their positioning and stuff.
Yeah, that's really good. Something like a layer to add on to that that's really important to think about is how they are playing in relation to the specific heroes on their team, and in relation to the specific heroes on the enemy team, and, like, how their playstyle changes based on how comps change. There's just, like, so much that goes into that, but, like, once you have all of that figured out, it makes adapting to, like, the bizarre team comps you get in ranked a lot easier. You just know how you should play with the weird-ass heroes that they picked. I think one of the traps a lot of people run into watching the pro players is missing the why of some of the things that they do. So then they go do them and, like, don't understand why it's not working or why they're losing anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just because different playstyles for different situations. Oh, too far. Oh well.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
I think you saw the Moira and changed her mind.
Yeah.
So, similar and different to Kree, Pharah is all about making angles, but Pharah has mobility, which Kree doesn't, and, you know, also flies through the air, so angles can mean a lot of different things. I would look to get up onto here first, and, like, you can spam a little into there, whatever, and then you conk up, and you want to play kind of on this side. Sorry, I gotta make those noises stop. They're driving me nuts. There we go. Okay, you want to... This becomes your corner, so you can, like, kind of hover and peek just far enough to shoot who you want to shoot at. And then this way, like, you can see, like, the snipers who could normally kill you are going to be on the high grounds. You see that high ground first. Oh shit, it's clear, I can go higher. Oh shit, it's clear, I can go higher. And etc. So, like, you have really good cover here. And then when your team pushes in, you're going to look to go over it, maybe. And then take an angle on them. This is a bad example because you get pinched here. This is kind of bad timing. But, like, especially if they're playing up here still, and you can get behind them to, like, this angle, well, then they're pinched. They shield you or they shield your team. And it makes your team... way easier for your team to walk in.
Okay.
So there's this concept of pressure that's, like, really important, and if it results in kills, great, but, like, that's not really the purpose. The purpose is to make one or two people have to physically turn and look at you, which means they cannot be looking at this or their own team and doing their job.
Okay.
And if two people turn and look at you, then your team is taking a 5v4 walking through this choke. And it's really easy for them. You can't die doing this, otherwise it's not worth. But if you can do stuff like that safely, it's just so annoying. Like, the Pharah, the Kree, the Tracer, whoever that, like, is just out of range that you can't actually get to, but you can't ignore either because they're fucking shooting you. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And so plays like that are just super strong, and Pharah is almost uniquely good at them just because of her insane verticality. Ideally, as a DPS, unless you are, like, Mei or sometimes Reaper, like, there's a few edge cases, but for the most part, you never ever want to be directly behind your tanks. You want to take kind of more or less the widest angle you can safely, and it doesn't have to be that wide. So, like, right here, well, maybe this TP is going to be great. We'll see how it is. TPing in is how Reaper can make angles really easily. But if you walking in right here on the other side of the truck from your team, doesn't matter which side they walk in on the other side, and now you're shooting people on the side. They have to back up to deal with both of you at the same time. Because, like, if they're here, they look this way or they look this way. If they back up, they can see all of you. So, like, their only tenable choice is to back up. If they don't, they die. Which means you guys get to walk in. And it's, like, such a short little angle. It's so tiny. You get the same thing just standing on top of here, even. You're literally with your team, but this gives you the angle you need to force them to back up. If you're directly behind your tanks, then they can just look one way.
Okay.
Taking this box is super strong. Might as well break the turret. Nice. Forcing point can be a really strong play. And again, it makes them have to turn around. And because they were dumb about it, you ended up not getting out, which is unfortunate because your team didn't push in on that. And I'm not really sure why.
That's the reason we lost, is I was able to get them to push back to point multiple times, but nothing was ever done about it.
Yeah, that'll happen sometimes in bronze. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Your folks are just staying here in the choke when you peeled back so many and killed the Moira.
Mhm.
You should have lived here not because you screwed up, but because like your team did. It's unfortunate, but you can't win every game, and this was still the right play to make.
Okay.
I think the change I would make is, especially since you can kind of see through these doors here, if you see that your team isn't pushing in, once they force your fade out and you have to fade out, this going back to the choke wasn't the play, but getting all the way out. Either like grab this mega and come up here to this high ground.
Yeah, that probably would have been a lot smarter to go for the mega.
Yeah, because they don't really have anyone that can chase you down. D.Va can use her jets once, and then you can just get away after that, and she has to wait to get them back. Like, if you cycle your cooldowns right, none of them can ever really get to you, and you're wasting so much of their time if they try. And then once, you know, they stop following you, then you just set up again and maybe, you know, kill this Lucio or whatever. I think that was the only mistake you made. But, like, this play was good.
Okay.
Unfortunate. Yeah. This probably isn't, like, mathematically 100% true, but the way, for my own mental, the way I like to think about my games is 1/3 of the lobbies you will win no matter how badly you do, and 1/3 you will lose no matter how well you do. There's only about 1/3 of the games where it's really your contribution that is what matters between win and loss. So, like, every now and again, you just gotta be like, it's one of those games. And still, you know, do your best, still try to carry. Never give up. Like, I have won some super unwinnable games by popping off before. But, like, don't get stressed about it either. Like, do your best, and don't take it personally when you lose. And don't blame your team, because, like, not that I have seen any evidence that you would, but, like, if you expect to climb, it's because you think you're better than your lobby. You can't expect them to play as well as you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not fair. You have to expect that you're going to play better than them if you think you should be climbing. Yeah.
This was a bit of miscommunication. We had acknowledged that we weren't really getting past the point, so I asked if we wanted Sim, and I wasn't getting a clear answer, so that's why I didn't switch.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna say I would still be like looking to poke and build ult, but if that's why you went, then good. D-Mac on the D.Va. Yep. So now I'd be looking to get behind. Oh, that was really good. Oh, and then
yeah.
Wait, did you have? You did. You might have been able to fade out of there.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but what I was gonna say. So, like, you got low, you faded out to your Moira, who was healing you. All good. Great. Your teleport takes 2 seconds to go off. So the cycle with Reaper is when you have 2 seconds left on your fade, you TP in somewhere aggressive. By the time it ends, you have your fade off, so even if they, like, go on you immediately, you can get right back out again if you have to. But that's how you keep, you maximize the number of cycles you can do. Because, like, not every dive will be successful. But if you can get out alive every time, then you can just keep trying over and over again until you kill something. And that's actually kind of how dive and dive heroes work, is those cycles. So what I would have done, once I backed out here and got healed, is TP'd up onto here, because now you're behind them and they're pinched, and you can do a couple shots from the high ground, or you can just drop on whoever. But TPing to this high ground gives you a lot of information. You can see everything that's going on. It's a safe place to be that it's hard for them to get to you. And you can choose a target to drop on very easily from here. And maybe you even just kill this Sig from the high ground and you never die at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we 100% would have won if I didn't die, because I also had my ult,
Yep.
and they were playing so grouped up that
Yeah.
I
If
would have been
you.
able to kill them.
Yeah. If I'm not saying this is how it would have played out, but like if you had TP'd here, killed this Sig in the air, and then dropped in and hit your ult, none of these three can cancel you. You would kill all of them before they could possibly kill you. You would just hard carry this point.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, like you can't be expected to always hard carry everything, but I see a world where you hard carry this. The other path to this was killing that Sig, and then immediately hitting your fade to this Mega, backing out this way, waiting till you have your cooldowns back, and then maybe you TP up here or wherever, and you try again. That I think was your other path. But then the risk of that is they push these three, so who knows.
Yeah.
You do have 30 seconds left, so you have time for a regroup and a real fight. Except your team's using ultimates. They're also using ultimates. You're getting trades. Unfortunately. So, you quite likely would have died anyway, but I would have tried to hit my ult coming around this corner just because you get the self-heal from the damage you do. And you probably kill this Torb and maybe you even get this Sig. And then you touch. But also, so long as you touch, you touched 3.1. So long as you touch with 3 seconds or less left in the game, it will trigger OT.
Okay.
So you don't want to touch before then, but if you see an opportunity, you can go in at 2 seconds and leave, and that'll trigger if you gotta. And then the other thing, so it actually varies map to map, but Reaper has rollouts with whether you should TP first then fade, but yeah.
Okay.
I think I know you used them some of the time, but I think you mostly walked back to point here, and you might have been able to roll out a little bit faster.
Okay.
But basically, if you have a clear line to TP, like max range TP, you TP first, and if you don't, you fade first, and then you TP after.
Okay.
Just to roll out to point faster.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, in order of importance, play high grounds and corners more. The aggression is really good. Just try to be a little bit safer about it. You do have to be very aggressive in this game. And your mechanics are solid, so you can totally be aggressive sometimes. Especially in bronze, you'll out mechanic people already. So there's a little bit of limit testing there. Play as aggressive as you can until they start punishing you for it, and just know that as you climb, you'll probably have to tone it down a little bit. But while you can abuse it. Your aim's good enough. Yeah. Corners and high grounds. Think about pressuring angles. Think about who you need to protect if you're playing Kree. And yeah, think about creating more vertical angles and more side and behind angles if you're playing Pharah.
Okay.
I like thinking about your team is a spear that then splits and wraps around. So walking in directly behind your tanks is fine because that's their job, is to keep you alive walking behind them. But once you are walking in, you need to look to split and fan out and try to create angles around, because that'll make it even easier to keep pushing in. Yeah. Any questions or anything?
One thing from McCree, is there situations where after a flash it's smarter to go for the headshot, or should I just stick to the fan the hammer to guarantee the kill.
Yes. So the headshot is faster than the fan. So if they're low enough health that a headshot will finish them off, and you feel confident in hitting that headshot, hit the headshot and kill them.
Okay.
If a headshot won't finish them off, or like for whatever reason you're just not feeling your aim on in that moment, then just hit the right click and kill them.
Okay.
The only real risk to the right click is you're kind of like locked in that animation for about a second. But it's 300 damage. Like, it's so broken. You might as well use it every chance you can.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
I think that was about it.
All right, rad. Feel free to submit another VOD sometime.
Thank you. This was very helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.